elephant in the room was not mentioned. We heard the Attorney General talk only about contamination. The Attorney General.
You're welcome back. So we are moving to the Galamsey matter. But in the meantime, I'm getting credible information from the Bank of Ghana that suggests that what MIF has put out on its own website is not credible. So I'm in a difficult situation. I don't know what to do with the information. That MIF says it does something, and those who have run the gold for oil, and we know the central place where it was run from was the Bank of Ghana, then say MIF's information is inaccurate. But that information is sitting on MIF's website. In fact, investigators who are doing this, work will confirm that MIF is in there. Anyway, we'll end it here. My next set of guests have joined me. Inus Afuseni was here earlier. Inus Afuseni is former MP Tamale Central and former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Kofi Bento is lawyer, Vice President Imani Africa. I call him the Rebel. Dennis Miracles Abuaji, Director of Communications of the Bamia campaign that many of you are in love with, but you don't want to confess. They came on my page and said, what is Dennis coming to do? What is he coming to do? And I should get him out of the show. Dr. Ekpo Enyima Aka is food systems toxicology, nutrition and health risk assessment expert at the University of Education, Winneba. That's where he teaches. And Major Dr. Ebenezer Kwachi Ajiman, retired, is security risk and leadership expert. They're going to tell us, Ekpo is going to make a very compelling argument about how Galamsey, you may have heard the stories about how it has polluted our waters, destroyed our farm, produce and so on. But we take you to another level to show you, if you thought that you were exempt, you are joking. You are poisoned. And he makes the forceful point that every ingredient needed for a state of emergency to be triggered, we are there. And then Major Retired Ebenezer Kwache Ajman will tell us the security risk we face. Mr. President, if the national security people are not telling you, they may be misleading you. That's what he's going to show you. The security risks that we face, that this thing, the security implications are just too dire, not only for Ghana, but transnational. He'll show you the evidence why we must do more than we currently are doing. So thank you for joining us. And we will do a little beyond the time you are familiar with us. Let's hear the encounter at the Jubilee House.
Chiefs, House of Chiefs, we've been everywhere, educating them to use their voices and their position to help in addressing the crisis we face. Key stakeholders engagement across the country. A long list of everybody that matters in Ghana has been engaged in this short period of time. The second is what I talked about. We must completely, overhaul our regulatory regime. And we began by revoking those licenses that were given within that transitional period. And then embark on an aggressive process to review the large scale, small scale. We just finished earlier the small scale mining review. You will be shocked. Processes that should be followed were not followed. It was obvious that you have to be politically connected to get a license. It was very, very clear that if you do not have a political godfather, it will take you years to get a license. It was clear that the MCAS system that should allow everybody in the comfort of his room to see what is going on in the Minerals Commission was not happening. We initially came out with 907 licenses that had problems. But we didn't want to simply revoke the licenses. We gave opportunity to the small-scale miners to come in and show what they have. We've done the complete due diligence, and let me thank the chairman of the review, my able deputy minister, for this effort. I can tell you that the review is almost close. At least, I'm sure, by next week when we announce it, at least 250 licenses will be revoked. I'm very sure about that one. It is very clear that we need to also review and amend the main Mining Act, Act 703. A lot of provisions there must be tweaked and strengthened. Why is it that those in Accra can just decide, because you are my friend, just get a license? You don't even know LMLA. You can just walk in there, wave your licenses at the chiefs and the local people and tell them that I am coming to take the gold underground, your cocoa, and you have no power. This review includes reforming it and creating, empowering our chiefs and communities in the district areas where the gold is. We are going to form district mining committees to make sure that the recommendation for licenses will first and foremost come from the district, the owners of the resource. We are also going to create avenues for not only medium scale, but small scale, but medium scale. What has happened? Small scale mining is 25 acres. So I go through all this hustle and I get 25 acres. When I finish mining it, I have to go through this lengthy, crazy program. Now I won't go to Accra again. All I have to do is just continue the illegality. How do we create the opportunity for those who have done the right thing to be given medium scale and large scale? As the president has announced, we have been, as Ghanaians, at the back of the bus. We've been in the middle in the mining industry for over 100 years. We think that Ghanaians have reached the point where they can have the commanding heights of the mining sector, as Nkrumah will describe. And when you see the president making the case that when we give you a 30-year mining lease, it is not automatic, that is going to just be given, and that we are going to now move in that direction to empower Ghanaians. This is what the president meant. And so we are doing a lot. I'm very happy to tell you that within this 9 months, we've visited every region, we've met every House of Chiefs, we've met the National House of Chiefs. We are almost 90% complete with the reform of the law and the policy, and I believe next year all these amendments will be in place. This is how much we have been working. On regulations, as I have described, we have audited, and I think I've made all these points already. The other important aspect of this fight is, as we are doing the regulations, we need to strengthen enforcement, because it's very clear that it was free for all. Everybody was digging everywhere that there was no tomorrow. And so those recalcitrant people must be dealt with. And so at this point, where it became a free-for-all, everybody was forming a task force. Thanks to the coordination and cooperation of the Minister of Interior and Defense, and I'll talk a bit about it when we get to some point. We have jointly have a coordinated force and established what we call the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operation.
Yes, I have the power to do it. But the president acts on the authority, not only on the authority, on the advice of the National Security Council. And as at now, this moment, the National Security Council believes that we can win the fight against Galamsey without a state of emergency. I want to assure you that the day they advise me otherwise, that, boss, now we need a state of emergency, I will not hesitate in declaring a state of emergency. But we do still think that we have the powers to be able to win this fight. And as we deploy more troops and we apply more resources to the fight, I'm sure that gradually we'll begin to see that we're winning.
Let me begin with the rebel. Kofi?
Yep.
Imani had already said before attending that this was useless. You don't need more talking. You should just do.
Yeah.
But you still attended.
Well, my president attended. It's his prerogative. I put it out that I wasn't going to go. And I was just telling my brother Inusa here, 10 years plus, it's the same place. We were saying the same things. We've talked and talked. I have said all kinds of things, some taken, some not taken well. Look, activity is not the same as progress. We are seeing a lot of activity, a lot of stimulation, a lot of talk, no progress. Galamsey is getting worse, so we don't need more talk, number one. Look, don't look at what people are saying. Look at the ground, and then you will know what is going on. Let me give you an example. Despite all the mountain of talk, when this government came in, nothing or not much has been done in terms of stopping Galamsey, but we have been able to establish Gold Board, pass the law, pass LI, set up the institution, gone onto the ground, start buying gold, and we've mobilized billions of dollars of gold, sold it and done all kinds of, all within this space, but we have not been able to solve Galamsey. Put it another way, a counterfactual. We have managed to set up systems to harness Galamsey gold, convert it to dollars and stabilize the economy. And we have not been able to stop Galamsey. Activity is not the same as progress. There's a lot of talk, no action, and the action is rather in harnessing Galamsey gold to establish this economy or make it better. In a sense, somebody will say that's good. The president said, after all, in the past, we're not benefiting from it, now we are benefiting from it. I am telling you, I've come to the conclusion, we will not win the Galamsey fight. There is no sincerity in doing that. And look, the experts will tell us, all of us are going to pay a very heavy price for some people's private profit. It is not you and I who have to solve Galamsey. It is the president, his cabinet, his ministers, and the people we have given authority to go and solve it. To me, they don't have any interest in solving it because they think not solving it has better benefits for them politically.
After everything you saw and heard yesterday,
yes,
you still say
that's
why
I'm telling you. Don't watch
interest.
the talk, watch the action. All the things I saw and heard yesterday were what I expected to hear. And I've been hearing them for over 10 years.
Forest reserves.
Oh.
We are told that the EPA, or whichever it is, had to classify as red zones because their officers could simply not enter. There were armed tags in there. You dare not. We are told that even the military was asked to stay off.
Who has the military to stay off?
And now, these places have been recovered. You don't see effort that is getting to bringing things under control?
You see, as we speak, there is more Galamsey now than we had yesterday. New equipment have come into this country and have found themselves onto, Galamsey sites. So I say, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of stimulation. Watch the ground. What is happening most in the area of gold in Ghana today is that Galamsey gold is being mobilized effectively, sold and being used to stabilize the economy. All of us are benefiting in that sense. So let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest with ourselves. We are doing more to mobilize the gold than to stop the mine.
Yusuf Saini, what you saw, do you have a change of mind? Some of the CSO leaders, you heard them after the encounter, beginning to say, there appears to be a lot of effort, well-intentioned, and if they get the support they need, NIMOS, we'll get somewhere.
Well, I came out of the program yesterday hugely satisfied that something was being done, and that probably there was a change in approach to the Galamsey fight. And clearly, the president and the government appear to have a strategy, and they are implementing the strategy to the letter. They are also deeply, acutely aware that there are risks. And so the president did not rule out the imposition of a state of emergency. I also was very happy that the president appears to be giving vent to good governance metrics that every government that intends to carry the people along in implementing a policy like stopping the Galamsey ought to be 1, transparent, 2, accountable, 3, empower government institutions, legal and regulatory or governance institutions, 4, engage stakeholders, and 5, fight corruption within the system. And I clearly could see it. That look, the government says, the president says, yes, I can impose state of emergency. The Constitution mandates me, gives me the authority to do so. But I act on the advice of a state institution. Clearly, given a perspective to the institutional approach of handling matters. And I was happy. He didn't appear to be dictatorial. He didn't also appear to be to act arbitrarily. He appeared to be relying on advice of institutions.
What method, what instrument is being deployed that is new from what we have done over the years, including when you were at the helm?
So when I was, again, let's come back and be honest with ourselves.
Show me what is new.
What is new is simply that, look, the president says, they reclaim forest reserves. I'm going to station military officers there. I never heard any government say that.
That's
even
not new.
included.
That's not new.
It's new.
Where?
Tell me, which forest reserve did you have military officers stationed?
Operation Galamsey and the rest, the soldiers were sent in there.
I'm not talking about sending soldiers in. I'm not talking about. I sent soldiers in. General Monsieur was the commander of the task force, but they were not stationed there. So the first attempt under even President Mahama in this second term, they sent soldiers in, they sent police in, and when the police withdrew, the Galamseyers went back. They are telling us that they are going to station them permanently. It's new.
That's new.
It's new.
And that will be more effective.
Look, they are saying that apart from getting them there, we are going to ensure that we begin dechemicalizing our water bodies. We were thinking that we should first of all deal with Galamsey before dechemicalizing our water bodies. But they're saying that we're going to run that simultaneous, and you heard Professor Brown. He said, look, we are talking to the Minister of Finance, and when we get money, we are going to begin to look at that.
Okay.
It's new.
Okay, so Dr. Kwachajuman, having listened to all the people in the room who spoke, the president, the ministers, well, the minister at the helm says this will not be won with the gun. Well, they are not even afraid of the gun, are they? From your, articles I have read. This is Galamsey that used to be punished with 5 years imprisonment. In 2019, we improved the law, and it's punished minimum 15 years in jail.
Yeah.
Minimum. And yet, they are not scared. Tell us your level of satisfaction or not from what you saw.
Thank you very much. The critical issue we need to understand is that Galamsey has transitioned. So for me, as a country, we should not even call it Galamsey because of the involvement of people who have power, involved people who have money, involved people who can control decisions, and indeed external influence, which hitherto were not known in the Galamsey space. So, for example, how many people can procure a single excavator? If you do the last count last year based on data available, at least more than 5,000 excavators are in Ghana. And they're not on their roads, they're not in the registered mining companies, but elsewhere working for people who are lining their pockets with proceeds from such particular activities. Thankfully, Goldboy, even though has its own criticisms, has been able to demonstrate that prior to them coming in, substantial amount of resource or money were being filtered through out of Ghana as to who knows where they were passing through. So it establishes that there's a major problem we need to deal with. And the interesting thing is that if people can procure weapons to control or protect their resources and assets in the bush, preventing forestry officials having agitations and confrontations with military officials who are permitted legally with the police people, is creating a kind of environment where insecurity is beginning to fester and becoming a glaring picture in the environment of Ghana, which hitherto was unknown. So given what was displayed at the presidency, there is some degree of limited hope. I say limited hope because what is new is some of the things that the Honorable Minister has already alluded to. But I don't see any policy framework already well established, assessing the command control mechanisms, logistics approaches, because it's going to be very expensive. And we cannot only deploy soldiers without having the sufficient logistic support to work on it. So upfront, those things must be clear, as I said, must be transparent, and accountability must also be shared. Until we do that, we'll be going around in circles because there's a whole political incident coming up out of illegal mining now, where at any election cycle, either you are in opposition or you are in government, your language will change in a way. So it's important as a state, we look at it from that comprehensive angle and realize that it is indeed a problem, and that it is not only being perpetrated by Ghanaians, by foreigners who have now gained control over our even political economy.
We'll get you to tell us shortly about the national security implications as far as you are concerned about Galamsey.
Yes, sir.
So, Dr. Imaka,
Yes.
from where you sit, you heard the president actually asked somebody to do a presentation about the water levels and spoke about the turbidity, and Kenashbe and so were questioning him that that's not what we are interested in.
That's true.
And there was another lady doctor who said, look, what you're talking about is not like, it doesn't cut across. So you shouldn't use that, because we have found now that elsewhere that even the turbidity is 90,000 plus NTU, where in 2024 it was 14,000 and we were up in arms. Were you satisfied?
No, I was not. I think the data that was presented was highly biased. It was not a scientific representation of the state of affairs. It was skewed to address a certain political or governance interest. It is not a rigorous scientific presentation. I think the presenter did acknowledge that. First of all, it lacked representativeness. Number two, a lot of envirotoxicochemical indicators were not presented. Okay, we're looking at arsenic, cadmium. We're looking at not just the substrate level, as in the level of these toxicants in water and food systems. We're also looking at exposure levels, taking food samples and assessing them, finding out how much of these toxicants are actually being consumed. And that's where I'm coming to present evidence on that. And please, we should stop using the terminology dechemicalizing. That is wrong. Huh? It is completely unscientific. How can you dechemicalize water, river? How can you dechemicalize food or water in this country? Which body of science can dechemicalize water? I was sad, to tell you the truth, when I was listening to people who were supposed to...
But they said that was dechemicalization is doable, except it is expensive.
It's preposterous. H2O, water itself is a chemical. There are beneficial chemicals in water. There are very important minerals like iron. I'm talking about, if you look at some of the essential minerals that we are supposed to take, potassium, they are all inside. Are you going to remove them? So I was shocked when the EPA director or whoever she was saying that they would dechemicalize water.
They are in the procurement process. You're saying we are going to throw money away?
I'm not going to assume what she has done or not. But what struck me was that she was just talking politics. She's a political appointee. How can the first point is, as a specialist, head of a national institution, how can you open your mouth How can you open your mouth? The specialist whom the president relies on and takes, no wonder, and takes advice, technical advice from you, come and you stand on a national platform and states that you want to dechemicalize water, rivers. It's a shame.
And this is
the president believes
this is ad hominem
because the president actually referred to her.
This is ad hominem.
When they are
Look,
going to
doctor, you have no liberty to attack the person.
No. I gave a
no.
I said
this is ad hominem.
This is not ad hominem.
This is title.
This is not argumental ad hominem. This is not argumental ad hominem. I am addressing the issue that the allusion to dechemicalization.
You are not addressing the issue.
Which unfortunately unelected people are actually using.
No, this
it betrays the country. I'm very loud about this because it is a betrayal.
It's not true.
To every Ghanaian that our experts are not speaking truth to power.
When you say unelected people are using, what are you talking about?
When I say unelected,
we put in our water, does it not change it?
No, you see,
is it because
you can say that you want to detoxicologize our water. You can say you want to decontaminate the water. You can say you want to detoxicant the waters. You can never in all of science say you want to dechemicalize the water.
Oh, I get
it. And what is annoying me most is that
I don't get him.
People's lives are at stake.
Okay.
Please, let me say a caveat. I'm not attacking the specialty of the president's appointee, the EPA director, and all the people.
That is what you have just done. You did. That you have just done.
No, I am.
That's just what you have just done.
That's
what you have just done.
The expression of the word dechemicalization is
you could do that without attacking her.
Hold on.
You could do that without attacking her.
Having made that case,
that's what you are doing. That's what you have done.
Yes.
And you are not a specialist in that area or all areas.
Hold on. He will display his specialty.
Okay.
Yes. Dennis.
That's what you have just done. And I'm surprised.
Yes, Dennis. Some are very, very excited and happy about the manner in which the president is approaching it. There is, if you like, he's bringing everybody on board because this is, a very useful way to go about it. You had as many as 59 plus, civil society organizations that were invited. And he said he wanted frank and constructive dialogue and practical solutions to the problem.
Council, the NDC, I mean, there are a lot of scientists here, so pardon me if I do politics and stick to some of the social issues. The NDC are beginning to get irritated at almost everybody. They are either warning people, threatening people, calling into shows and giving caveat. I think they need to calm down. It's just 9 months. The scientist is basically expressing a scientific...
Don't defend him. Speak to this thing.
Beg your honor.
What kind of life is this?
Go ahead with your
subject. The scientist is expressing a scientific opinion. And even in science, there are a lot of disagreement and variances in views. So he's at liberty to say whatever he's saying. It is up to other opinions to test the view. So please, I'll protect him. I'll protect him here.
You are not the person to do that.
See, a few things have happened in the past few weeks. One, the NDC, and I'm glad, are gaslighting the country, which is drawing a lot of independent-minded people into the conversation. For the past few weeks, we've come to accept, all of us generally, finally, that indeed, Galamsey, as we have it today, is an age-long matter. That's how they describe it now. They've stopped describing it as 8-year-old. The president, fortunately, yesterday never used in the past 8 years. So now I think it's a lot of progress. And I applaud everybody that has been involved in the conversation in the past. There's been some agreement to that it's an age-long.
What has changed and worsened the situation? Is the kind of machinery. And we are told in 2023, 2024, excavator import was free for all. As much as this 6 billion worth of excavator import we saw in the country.
Today we are getting 200 excavators on daily basis into Ghana. Check at the port. 200 every day. 200 excavators a day in Ghana, I'm telling you, at the port. The last time, the port got so congested that they had to decongest it and move excavators at night. But please don't digress. When I finish there, you can ask me the questions. That is the first one. Number two, I think the past week we've also all come to agree that Galamsey, as we have it, was not going to end simply because Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo and NPP out of office. That impression was created for a very long time that Akufo-Addo himself was mining behind his house in Achim. And immediately you vote him out of office. You have cabinet ministers who actually said it. You vote him out of office, Galamsey will end. Now, the other very important point we all need to agree to is that the NDC and the government as we have today are finally coming to the realization that Galamsey is worsened. The last time when the president met the media and the government communications minister was speaking, he actually had the energy to tell the entire country that if you think Galamsey has worsened, provide evidence. I was shocked. I was shocked when the government minister actually told us that we should provide evidence and proof that Galamsey has worsened. Fortunately, in the past few days, a lot of people have provided proof. And I think finally, that has culminated into the president now saying, shall we meet and have a conversation? My worry with the NDC and how they are treating Galamsey is...
It's your preliminary comment.
Oh, so I
gave each one of you 2 minutes.
So my time is up?
You've done 4 minutes.
So I'll come back?
Yes.
But I can finish?
Finish up.
Great. My worry with the NDC and how they are handling Galamsey is that if we refuse to face the facts and the realities as we are hearing from our retired military man and the scientist and Council Bentil and Co, we'll never get a solution. Because here we are, a government admitting that they are buying about 60% of the gold we are exporting, likely, highly likely, coming from illegal sources. And the president says that, well, this money could have gone to private pockets. It is our own environment they are destroying. And so if we are going to get it, then so be it. For him, that is the first approach. And he said it on TV. Now, if this government comes back to tell us that the only solution that he has in place for us is NIMOS, then I hit my head. I said, how? Something. Since 2010, when we saw Galamsey in this manner, when Professor Mills spoke to now, the number one tool, weapon we have utilized in the fight against Galamsey has been the military. That is what it has been. Nothing more, nothing less. And you had this president and this government saying so much when they were in opposition. In fact, the president is on TV having said that it is not wise to use soldier and military after Galamsey. He said it. He said it wasn't wise. And so it's a big betrayal of the country when you are eventually given power. And all you do is to use the same old approach that you came to meet. And you are saying we should applaud you. But there's something going on all of us should pay attention to. Because of the deep propaganda this government is running the issue of Galamsey, they keep boxing themselves into a corner. So this is what happened after the event.
And that's what
I was happy. I was happy when the engagement was happening. Because I thought that at least for once, this government is allowing himself to accept the reality. And so we'll come up with something. Then the government communications minister comes out of the meeting and says, well, the government says there is progress because stability levels of water sources have improved. When he knows that stability level, sometimes you don't know what stability level is. It's just the shadiness, the color of the water. It has nothing to do with quality of water. It is, this one is more brown, this one is less brown. That's what stability is. So you can actually have a very brown water, that is very quality, and have a very plain water, that is very, very toxic.
Right.
The Water Resources Commission has been tracking the water quality index in this country since 2004.
That's what Kenashigbe told them.
With 41 water bodies. Then you have a government that is telling us that you really, really want to fight Galamsey, come to display 6 water bodies and tell us that because their turbidity levels have reduced, why didn't you display 40 water bodies and tell us their turbidity levels at least? Now, let me tell you the challenge.
So he did
the challenge with NIMOS. Let me tell you the challenge with NIMOS.
Thank you.
My final point.
You need to hold on.
My final point. Challenge with NIMOS is that they keep telling us that we are sending soldiers to the forest. Sending soldiers to the forest. Then I ask myself, the Ofin River, the Pra River, the Ayesu River, none of them are being destroyed from the forest. I have been to Upper Denshire East. I was on Dunkwa, on Ofin. I was on River Pra. The road is here. The river is here. Chamfans and excavators are there mining. Openly.
Thank you. Right. Inisa, I can see you are itching to come in.
Itching to come in.
But I need to do something. I want to give you just about a minute's intervention. Then I'll bring in the experts. They'll finish very brief, quick presentations. Then I'll bring you all back again. Kofi has a lot to say. I can see him calibrating and defining things to speak about. Yes, quickly.
First of all, when we sit on programs like this, we speak to educate Ghanaians. There must be a general understanding that no one is the absolute repository of knowledge. You must be humble enough to know that no one is an absolute repository of knowledge. Now, Humpty Dumpty, if you say you are dechemicalizing water, what does it mean? You are taking out chemicals in the water which ought not to be in the water. Simple. No one dechemicalizes water which is potable. No one does that. And when River Ofin and Ankobra and others were not polluted, no one talked about dechemicalization. So unless you are a Humpty Dumpty, you know dechemicalization of water will refer to a certain particular activity that is intended to take hazardous chemicals from the water. That's number one.
Should I believe you or believe the expert?
That's number one. That's how I understood it. I'm not explaining. That's how I understood it. When the professor came to talk, that's how I understood it. And he was communicating for us to understand. Two, when the man came and presented his report on the turbidity levels of certain selected waters, he was honest enough to admit that this test was done in areas that have been cleared of Galamsey, unless you didn't listen. And he was also humble to say that this was not a toxicology report.
What was the point?
He said it.
After he had been challenged.
Yes. So he said it. When he started his presentation, he said, look, it's about turbidity, and explained what turbidity means.
Yes, it's not about turbidity.
Okay. Please, I'm talking. If you are attacking somebody's professional
So now let's do this, gentlemen. Now
and you are not honest with the attack.
Now let's do this. We are going to do a very brief thing.
It's a different thing to say that
we're going to do
not
a very brief thing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, I deprecate
thank you. Now, Dr. Imaka, let's hear from you. Very brief. He's going to make the point, a compelling point to us about where we are all being poisoned and why there's no excuse not to trigger a state of emergency. Please, the floor is yours. This is Newsfile. It's still your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here at Newsfile, we always put Ghana first. I heard one of my guests earlier talking about the class of people and the quality of people who watch this show. We are clearly aware. I have been through the country the whole of the last 3 weeks, and it's like almost all discerning people watch this show. I'm telling you, and we're happy about that. That's why we bring the best to help you. Are you ready now?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. It is a privilege and an honor to make my expertise available to inform current debate about Galamsey. And I want to humbly state that I do this with passion, not to spite people, but I have seen the ravages of cancer. I have seen the effect of what this toxicity can do to people. And if you tell me there are families out there who are suffering on account of this, and you see in the presentation that Samson has done that. So first of all, there are a lot of models about cancer. We've got logistic, regressional models, several models. WHO EPA, FDA, I'm talking about the US parallels of what we have in Ghana, use this model that I'm going to use to explain the prevalence of this exposure and how it affects all of us. The first one is that there is what we refer to as the single hit model of carcinogenesis. Now, the core principle is that a single molecular hit to a DNA from a genotoxic agent can initiate cancer. Okay, a single exposure to, and I'm using arsenic.
A single molecular hit.
Exactly.
To your DNA.
Yes. Yes. A single one. Now, there's a mathematical model here I would have shown, but it's not projected. I've given it to the producer. So
yes, I'm sure they're working on it. Production, kindly project this quickly for us.
Yes.
Go on. You just go on us.
So exposure, therefore, is directly proportional to the dose with a non-zero threshold. Okay. The second point is that arsenic binds to sulfhydryl groups and substitutes phosphates in the DNA. That's because arsenic and phosphorus have similar properties, chemical properties. So that is where it begins to attack. It induces oxidative stress. For example, some DNA strands can break. There are different forms of that breakages or mutation that can occur. And so when it happens on a gene suppressor, for example, TP53 or KRAS, then it can easily escalate into a permanent mutation. It can easily escalate into a permanent mutation. On account of that, for genotoxins, we prefer not to have any benchmark. We don't have any threshold on account of that. So that is, if a toxicant, a contaminant is a genotoxin, then it is not supposed to have a regulatory threshold. So all attempts, we use what we call as low as possible, as low as practicable, in order to reduce it. That is because a single molecule is likely to induce carcinogenesis. Now, at the population level, a lot of, as for Bangladesh and Taiwan, those countries, this theory or this model has been validated. And so we refer to it as the linear risk because exposure to the toxicant is linear. The more you are exposed to it, the higher the mutagenicity or the incidence of cancer is likely to occur. For the case of arsenic, you have skin, bladder, lungs. There is a continuous risk. And so this model is also referred to as linear non-threshold model. Linear non-threshold model. We have what we refer to as potency factor. All toxicants, especially genotoxic substances, have a potency factor, and values are given to them. So we multiply the potency factor by the exposure exposure level in order to quantify the magnitude of risk according to US, EPA, EFSA, WHO standards. Now, the policy implication is that there should be, as far as possible, a zero exposure. What it means is that every single exposure is likely to escalate the risk that any person is exposed to. Now, we did a study in the Volta region, KGB, and published it. And we had some interesting, I use this as an example because it is supposed from the listening I have done that in the Volta region there is no Galamsey.
Right.
So we went to the place and picked up some baby food samples. And Charlie, look at what we are seeing.
In Volta.
Okay, in the Volta region, KJB, we picked, I don't want to mention the brand name so that we will destroy people's business. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to inform the debate. And the argument here is that, look, you may not be in a Galamsey zone, but the food supply chain runs throughout the whole country. So if you are in Accra, you source your food from a Galamsey area because we don't do intensive agriculture, so to speak.
You refer to KJB in the Uti region?
Yeah, yes. The food, we have the pockets where Galamsey is hotspotted are the very pockets that we have high agricultural productivity. So we have our wholesalers and bulkers going to these rural areas to bring food for those of us in the urban centers to eat. And that is where you are not spared. If you are in Accra, you are in Kumasi, or you are in any urban center, and you are eating and drinking water, you are putting yourself at risk because Galamsey goes into the food and then it is brought to the cities for you to eat. So we found quite significant.
Well, already they can't treat our water.
Exactly.
Okay, you go.
When it comes to the water systems, in fact, I have pictures of, I'm in Winneba. Every single day, senior members, community members are all drinking brown water consistently. Today, yesterday, every day. And you see, the rich people can afford to dig their own wells, get their own, your friends say, solar energy, and do their own process plants in their house. You and I cannot do that. We have one Ghana, and they can afford to buy bottled water, Avian, etc. But we can't afford to do that. And that is what is making me very passionate about this advocacy. Okay. Continuing with that. So we found very significant levels. I wouldn't spend too much time. It has been projected. We saw exposure levels to be very significant. We found health risk levels also to be very significant. For a toxicant that is supposed to be have no threshold. Are you still
talking about the non-Galamsey areas, or now you're talking about?
Yeah, I have switched to the slides. Before I was expatiating on how if you are not in a Galamsey zone, you are still at risk.
That's right.
Because you source your food from areas, our food baskets where Galamsey is prone. So when the food comes, the crops uptake these toxicants and they stay in it. And the funny thing is that it bioaccumulates in you. The more, every time you are eating, it is the levels of these toxicants are building up in you. So that is the argument. And then for water systems, our processing plants have already failed us. In Winneba, where I work and live, we have never had clean water for only God knows how long. Since last year up to now, we have never had, all the water we drink is brown. And it is exposing children, school children, the next generation. So the argument here I am making is that Galamsey, for example, arsenic leaches into rivers, soils, and fish. Now, another thing too associated with that exposure is multiple. First, we have ingestion. You drink water, you eat contaminated food. Then also you have inhalation.
All right.
When dust that contains these toxic.
We've done some 10 minutes and I need you to.
Our breath. It is also responsible for. It's also an exposure route. Then we have derma. This one is particularly important for our youth who are in the river bodies mining Galamsey. Their skin is exposed to these toxicants and it can generate a lot of damage for them. So what we are calling for here is that we can see that there is an existential threat on the water that we drink. 2, the food that we eat. And even now, the air that we are breathing. Article 31, Clause 9 of the Constitution says that when there is an existential threat to the life of the community, the president is mandated to use the legal tools of a state of emergency to help this. Now, I want to tie this in with the law. Just 1 second. You see, when a community is at risk, the president is supposed to address it. But when the operations of Galamsey involve armed operators, and a lot of Operation Hit, Operation Vanguard, all kinds of operations have come and gone. Now, the reason why a state of emergency is invoked, Samson, is that it gives the president the powers to be efficient, whilst protecting human rights.
Okay.
But if, for example, this campaign that is being rolled out, very soon you will see human rights infringements will come to the fore. That is because the current operations that has been deployed by the Minister of Interior, it operates under the normal tools of governance that the Constitution has given. So it is easy to trigger human rights infringements. And when people bring it against you, they will succeed. Yep. So the framers of the Constitution foresaw this. That when, and you see, the state of emergency as defined by Article 31 does not call for the president to call for a nationwide state of emergency. Look at the hotspot areas.
Right. Targeted. Right.
Targets them.
Okay. Thank you.
So that, please give me a second. So the advocate, what we are calling for is that a state of emergency will give the president reprieve, the legal environment for the president to first of all halt the activities of these armed racketeers. Right. Okay. Then recovery, livelihood interventions can effectively be deployed.
All right.
I am happy about the fact that...
Thank you, Dr. Ekpo Enyima Aka, food science and technology, food quality management, agriculture, also chemistry, education, project management. I'm just reading some of the stuff that he has accomplished and currently lecturing in this area. And his contention is very clear that Galamsey, by depriving millions of Ghanaians of potable water, safe food and health through widespread heavy metal contamination and carcinogenic risk consistent with the single hit model of carcinogenesis, and by undermining public safety through armed resistance, satisfies the threshold under Article 31(9) of the 1992 Constitution as an existential threat that warrants the urgent declaration of a state of emergency subject to constitutional safeguards to pave the way for successful livelihoods, mitigative and restorative measures. Thank you very much. We'll hear from Major Retired Dr. Ebenezer Kwakye Agyeman, who brings in the national security implications. And then I'll bring all my guests back on the table. But because of what Ekpo just spoke about, the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Ghana, have issued a statement, and they call it an open letter to the president. And they are saying that women are at most risk of the Galamsey menace. They say the Galamsey menace is more insidious than COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, during which crisis, safeguards such as quarantines, lockdowns, remote work, school closure, vaccination, and other things were implemented. They say Galamsey may not be contagious, but its long-term effects on health, the environment and livelihoods are equally destructive. While the impact of Galamsey is nationwide, women bear its heaviest burden. Women who fetch water for households, farm food crops, process and trade in food and fish, or work and sell along agricultural and gold value chains are directly endangered by the toxic chemicals used in small-scale mining. Then they talk about all the evidences that have been shown, including by Professor Sampini, about the adverse effects of the Galamsey on fertility, women's reproductive health, fetal and child cognitive development, mercury and cyanide contamination that threaten not only health but also the very food security of the nation. And they mention a lot of things and make a demand of the president to declare a state of emergency. They are asking that the Food and Drugs Authority should take action to identify and warn against or ban and recall and destroy local produce as well as bottled and sachet water found to be contaminated. What they are suggesting is far-reaching. They are asking the Ministry of Health to also urgently provide clear nationwide guidance on how citizens can protect themselves from exposure to heavy metals in food and water, among other things. And the president of FIDA, Gloria Oforibuedu, signed that. So we'll go to Major Retired, but before we do that, Ekpo, what you said earlier, this is Atabadu. He says that as a management scientist, we know that science follows a structured approach to data collection and analysis to arrive at conclusions. Water is a chemical compound made up of two molecules of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen. Hence, water is referred to as H2O in chemistry. These two are not the only molecular compounds found in water. As you see from, he sent me the label on water bottle that we drink. It says, as you see from the label, there are about 5 more. Depending on social impacts like agriculture, other chemicals can be introduced through indirect means like leaching into water bodies. Therefore, mining is not the only source of water pollution. Mining has become an issue because it is a direct source of pollution. Now here, it is scientifically impossible to dechemicalize. I would like to see the mathematical equation that explains it, supporting EPO that you cannot dechemicalize water. We will be right back. Newsfile is your most authoritative news analysis platform. How I wish that even the break was projected, because there was such good and enriching debate during the break. And Major Adman will give us just about 5 minutes of the, national security implications of Galamsey, and he will answer the question whether he also thinks that we have gotten to that point, like Ekpo, Dr. Anyimaka says, for a state of emergency. A friend of mine sends a message who says that water itself is a chemical compound, so dechemicalizing it doesn't quite make sense in a literal way. Okay, well, the EPA boss, Professor Brown Kluche, joins us. Thank you for your time, madam.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So as we understand, in Ghana, we know that procurement normally brings some problems. You are going to procure what to dechemicalize our water?
Thank you, and good morning to your viewers. Yeah, so I think this is in reference to what I said yesterday at the program at the Jubilee House. So I was trying to explain that we are in a process of procuring nanoparticle liquid that we use to clean our water bodies. So, what is the problem with procurement, you're asking?
We are being told that to say that you are going to dechemicalize the water is scientifically incorrect.
So, okay. I said it. We have tested it in the lab. Is it the chemical that is not correct or the chemicalizing the water bodies? I don't understand what is not correct about it. We are in a technology age. I'm a physicist. We have seen nano liquid that we can use to treat our water bodies or treat water in general. So this liquid separates water from every other thing, which means that it will separate water from heavy metals that we are battling with. It will separate water from bacteria. It will separate water from microbes, every other thing. We have only water left, and that is what we want to have in the country. So with the polluted water bodies that we have, once we have this nano liquid, we apply them in the water body, and then we have our water clean, safe, and back for use for the citizens of Ghana. I don't know what is not possible or what is scientifically incorrect about this. It's simple. We just spray the liquid in the water bodies. We get our water back to its normal state.
Okay. Prof, listening to Dr. Nyimaka, did you hear her? Are you okay with the explanation now?
Thank you very much, Prof. I have respect for your pedigree as an intellectual. However, I take issue with the expression to dechemicalize water. I don't know which authority you will want to cite as having to use the expression dechemicalization of water.
Thank you. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it. So the issue is the phrase or the process. So if we say decchemicalize, we are talking about the fact that we have heavy metals, which are chemicals in our water body. And to please first get our back correct. That is what I do.
Okay. Beyond that, Kofi Bentel has a question for you.
I did geography, so I don't claim to be an expert, but I just know a little. I know that rivers flow, and in rainy seasons, they carry particles in solution. So the minerals and etc. are in and they flow into the sea. The places where water is treated are water and sewage plants and all those other places. I don't know how a river that is flowing can be, one, dechemicalized, and two, how your nanoparticles arrangement things can deal with the arsenic and mercury and other such things that are in the river. I however, know that if the mining is stopped, the river will flow and renew itself in 5 years.
It's true.
Now, putting whatever in that flowing river does not, in the sense of what you're saying, dechemicalize it or even detoxify it. And when the meeting was held, I heard that they were discussing turbidity. I know turbidity is a benign subset of toxicity. Toxicity in water is a very broad concept. You can have very clear water that is not turbid but is toxic. So I don't know why you elect to take out all the issues of toxicity, but you discuss turbidity alone. You can have water that is brown but it is clean. And a simple filtration through a sun filter will make it sufficiently clean and potable. So I don't know how the scientists chose to discuss the benign subset of turbidity when the broader issue of toxicity is there. My question is, how does your spraying of the nanoparticles, etc., treat a flowing river, which, if it is polluted again, will become polluted again? But if it stops, you don't need to spray anything.
Left to you, we should channel the money to stopping the Galamsey.
Absolutely.
Then the water by itself naturally
will recover.
In 5 years will recover.
Yes. Samson, the issue here is to focus the investment in making sure the infrastructure for water treatment is efficacious.
That is Ghana Water and Sewage.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You see, look, and please let me also highlight the issue.
She's been asked some questions. She needs to respond.
It's in relation with what my senior here mentioned. You see, when you dechemicalize so-called, per what he has defined,
Detoxify.
it means that you're going to take away both the essential minerals that are required by consumers, along with the toxicants that are in the water that you are referring
Point
to.
made.
So we should find a way to differentiate. That's what I did my PhD on. That how do we differentiate? How do we?
What you discussed with us is published in the American Journal, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I think
All
we
right.
can end
Thank
here.
you.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, sir. Something. So we have actually received a number of proposals for of technologies that we can use to clean our water bodies. And the particular one I'm talking about, copper-based nanoparticle. So that one, once used to clean the water,
river.
the test is like how we have our water with the earthen pot, the plant. So it still has the minerals that drink in our water body. Or in our drink.
So you are going to throw chemicals into the running river, is that it?
Yes, it's not every chemical that is that is poisonous. Like copper in a certain level, the body needs it. Magnesium at that level.
I have a difficulty understanding that you throw the chemical into water that is running, and it's raining also, and the water, can take the chemicals away, isn't it?
Yes, so what I said earlier was this chemical will separate water from every other thing. The heavy metals in the water body also can move with the water from wherever it's being polluted to other places.
To the sea.
That system needs
Hold on.
Water.
Water.
So we need to be we need to engineer the way we apply the water. So we target
treatment happens with captured
pollutants, and then the water throw it all the way down at different stages of the river and stuff.
Prof, with the feedback, I know you are a climatologist. With the feedback you are getting, would you want to reconsider this approach?
So, no, I want to understand the difficulty in their understanding of the method.
Water is captured before it is treated.
Because we have tested it in the lab.
Yeah.
We know it's doable. We have drunk the water treated with this with myself.
Yes, you see, the commonsensical way to put it, Kofi is asking, you don't capture the water and you are treating it. How is that?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that applying it is a different method altogether. What I said yesterday is the solution that we have. Its application is another topic altogether. So they can't say it's not doable or it doesn't make sense here. We apply it upstream at sections of the river body to achieve the result that we want to achieve.
Did you say you have tried it?
Say again?
Did you say you have tried it?
No, I said that we have done it in the lab. So for the purification, we are sure.
Yes, in the lab, the water you are dealing with is sitting at one point.
Yeah, I understand this completely. So what I'm saying is that at first the discussion is about the liquid that we are going to use. So if it's about the application on the field, it's a different topic altogether.
Okay.
It needs some engineering. I didn't know that is what we are talking about. But if that's what we are talking about, application is a different engineering altogether.
All right. Professor Nana Ama Brown-Kruche, thank you very much, CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. Thank you very much for joining us. do I have Major do his 5 minutes because I bring all of you in, or the way you were all itching to say something before? Okay, so what are the security implications? Yeah, okay. He's doing 5 minutes.
There's no 5 minutes.
There is.
We are going to go beyond 12.
Yeah, we are ending at 12:30. Yes, please go on.
Thank you. The problem we have with national security implication is that, number one, geologically, Ghana's mineral deposit also coincide with agricultural mining land space. So it means that any mining activity also necessarily impacts or conflicts agricultural space.
Like I said earlier, where mining goes on, that's where we get our food.
Yes. So that's number one. Number two is that there's a high infiltration of non-nationals into our space in arms. Again, as I indicated earlier, high procurement of weapons. And under transnational national crime environment, there needs to be planning, leadership, hierarchy of influence, and division of labor and all. And given our experience in the field, we can talk about 15 or 16 parameters, which makes this issue very, very serious. Number one is that there's a minimal high use of machinery, and that's we've established that. Shamfines,
excavators.
Now, most of them are not even manufactured in Ghana. So how are they coming in? We need to look at that. Number two is that they are not adhering to any statutory regulatory authority. And they are also alien to the payment of taxes. They don't want to hear. There's a high connivance or blessing of responsible officials, including people in the political space. And we've gathered that even some pastors in Ghana now are into illegal mining.
Yes.
And they don't have the interest to register. The other one is the negative implication on their health, their safety, and the even social environment. Prostitution, gambling, alcoholism, drug intake is now coming up. And again, they are also not paying anything to government, and they are also coming up with what we discovered to be the capacity to control their space, including administrative violence, including threat of death. Yes. Which is very, very important for us to understand. So the typical artisanal small-scale mine that we used to know have transitioned into a political space. Now the other danger is that all these people that we are talking about, how do they sell their proceeds? Now let's come back to how they lease equipment. Some of the equipment are leased to most of the people working, and they are most owned by people who are not Ghanaians. Interestingly, we found some degree of barter trade in the field, where instead of you paying them the money, they will come for great equivalent of what you have processed as payment for whatever arrangement they had done with you prior. The other one we need to understand also is this. As the soldiers and the military personnel and the resources have been employed, there's a high incidence of people, as you said earlier, having what we call human rights abuses, and also possible leakages. Interestingly, Honorable, some of the people illegal money now are now attempting to enter into the political space.
They have entered. They have entered
very much.
They've been funding.
They've been funding political parties. And some of them are minors.
Yes.
So the danger is that as soon as you get these people enter into the political space, then the country is almost finished. Yes. So if you send regulations that is supposed or intended to stop their activity, then there's a likelihood that either is delayed, or it will not be considered, or it will be frustrated. So these things come together for us to understand that the people are the ones that we are supposed to take care of. Everything we do is supposed to kneel to their benefit, their welfare, and their development. So any little thing that we do in this space now that compromises our health, our development, and our sustenance must be clustered as such. And first, as a national security, we must note that. Then the second point is that based on all the parameters we have seen, it is no more an internal national security, it's a transnational organized criminal enterprise, which Ghana has accepted.
Professor P.J. Tuya of the University of Ghana and his students said this in 2023 on this show, repeated it in 2024, and okay.
Yes. Please. So interestingly, it is there that the parameters and the crises are there. Yeah. Now, when you bring in the transnational organized criminal enterprise parameter, you don't need any law again, because the Financial Action Task Force regulations are there for you to imply in prosecuting the case. In that case, the punishment will be more punitive than what is prevailing of a maximum of 25 years. It goes beyond you tracing the equipment or their resources assets procured out of that criminality. The state can confiscate. The state can also rope in and bring international teams to support them to do external investigations.
Do I hear you say, if arrests are made, you shouldn't treat them as, punishing or prosecuting Galamsey?
No. But prosecuting transnational organized crime.
Okay.
In that case, the state has a wider latitude to apply both local and international regulations supported by other international entities, even to follow the money or the procurement or deposits done outside this country. So that makes it relatively easier for us to prosecute, and the punishment will be more punitive and also may.
But so far we have been catching the small fishes. Yeah. The president called them boys.
Yes.
Around it.
That's the reason why the law must change. The interesting thing is that when you catch the small fishes, there are managers or their principals who pass through the back door. If you're supposed to be given what they call a bail within the 48-hour caveat, they will pay the bill and they'll go back to the field. So that's how there's a high recidivism in the illegal mining environment. So if you apply the transnational organized criminal activity, then you can follow. Then resources can be applied. Then the state can have the latitude to deal with it as we stand today.
You touched on something that the Attorney General was concerned about yesterday, that they arrest them, they take them to the court, they are quickly granted bail, they go back to repeat what they are doing whilst they are on bail. So he instructed that re-arrest them as a new offense. And then let's find a way to get our judges not to be quick to grant them bail.
The issue is this. In some parts of this country, especially in the new region, some of them even have Attorney General's office. Secondly, except for the last review, it was only High Court that could try illegal mining cases, but now divisional courts can do so. The other problem with illegal mining cases is that you must prove it. Proving illegal mining is very, very difficult because, one, the product the person is holding must be sent for assay. Who pays for the assay? Again, chain of custody, sometimes it is distorted. And all these things become difficult for the typical Ghanaian prosecutor to be able to do that successfully. That's why sometimes we see more of the granting of the bail.
So from what you have seen from your study, which I have read, are we at a place of a state of emergency?
Yes, I think that we should look at the issue. Number one, we are all agreed that our water bodies have almost 60% polluted. Again, some, I would say, control zones in forest has been. So for me, the state of emergency must be incremental. Beginning with the areas we deem fit right for now. Must all water bodies, emergency must be declared. Then all areas that are protected, especially forest areas, emergency must be declared. Because as soon as you state blanket state of emergency without a footprint, there's a high occurrence that the people may go back. So given our resources, given the personnel strength and the facilities available to us, water bodies and protected zones must be declared.
Thank you.
That we can push from there.
Kofi, why do you think the national security is not advising the president this way?
I am not sure why, but I am worried about the kind of pronouncements we are getting out of the experts. Because I think national security should be speaking to the experts, and then the experts should be advising, and then we know where to go. So if you take Madam from EPA, for instance, we can excuse her use of the term, dechemicalize, yeah, because there's nothing like that, especially in this context. And Ken Ashigbe also mentioned that the scientist who came to make the presentation clearly selected the irrelevant areas to make a presentation on. That's a mistake, okay? And if Madam says that something has worked in a lab, I can say with my BA in geography that it will not work in a river, all right? So there is therefore a problem with the experts and what they are saying. And I worry also, in analysis, you can also always question motives when you come to policy making. Here we are moving in a certain direction, and clearly you can hear the connection to procurement already. And that is worrying. So as an analyst, I can tell you that, hey, I'm seeing the signs. Somebody is going to convert this problem into a procurement opportunity, and we're going to buy all kinds of things, throw them in the river, and then nothing happens. And then you see the national security people. Major has just said something which I have been saying for more than a year now, that this is the same structure that led to the collapse of Liberia and Sierra Leone. What you have here, what he said is that what you are seeing in the Galamsey areas is exactly what you see with the formation of rebel groups. It's a huge national security issue. And we've seen some of these Galamsey people overpower military people. So we really need to take it seriously. See, at the end of the day, there is also this transition that is going on, and nobody's speaking about it. I've said it before, I'm going to repeat. Today, as we speak, I hear President Mahama actually mention it, that there is a Galamsey economy of about 4 million people. I said it somewhere, and then somebody said President Mahama has mentioned it.
Yes.
Now, we have also detected that...
It was either the minister who mentioned 4 million people are involved.
In the Galamsey economy.
In the small-scale mining sector.
So you let me make my point.
Yes, 4 million people in the small-scale mining sector, which contributes 52% of our gold.
But when you say that, I say, oh, that includes illegal mining.
Right.
And illegal mining is about 85 to 90% of small-scale mining.
Thank you. You see all this English?
Yes. Say that again.
Illegal mining components or small-scale mining entities in Ghana here is between 85 and 90%.
Then there's no small-scale mining.
Thank you. So you see, because of the shortness of time, we can't explain all these things. So I'll say, we call it the Galamsey economy. Somebody will say, no, it's small-scale mining. Major, I just told you, is 85%. We are saying this Galamsey economy supports 4 million people. It has just been confirmed here. These 4 million people, their lives depend on it. Because of that, you have a situation where the locals have stopped the fight against Galamsey. They have made peace with Galamsey. Galamsey is giving them more money than cocoa farming. It's giving them more money than their, by-day farming. Because of that, Galamsey has essentially become an elite fight. We in Accra and other urban centers are now having to bear this because we know all the things being said around here. It's killing them, but they don't care anymore because it is feeding them. Samson, it's a major problem. Why? Why? Because the people you're trying to save now will start fighting you. And this is how it also affects votes and co. For me, so many things can be spoken about, and I have all the notes here, but I say this is where the problem now is, and we should start thinking very seriously about it. I have said, and I repeat, that the government has been able to do gold, but the government promising the repeal did not do the repeal. We have seen hundreds, if
now
not thousands.
It will repeal from the 14th of October.
Has not done it
yet. Will be put in Parliament.
And I'm telling you, watch the action and not the talk. However, we are doing a lot of mobilization of gold. What I see is not a fight. I see an arrangement that is taking advantage of... I'm not going to talk about enabling. I'm saying the taking of advantage of a bad situation, and we're going to pay for it. Now, in the US, they have what they call RICO laws, racketeering laws. We know that Galamsey is racketeering. We need to have RICO laws. What Chief is saying here is that when you have laws that assume a civil arrangement, then you have a civil base to arrest them, prosecute them ordinarily. But when you have a situation where the people have essentially become an enclave unto themselves with a political arrangement with arms, they can absolutely determine what goes on there. You are not dealing with a civil arrangement anymore. I sat here and said this thing again, that it has now transited from something that ordinary prosecutors can deal with. We should start thinking about more serious things. You see, when the politicians are confronted with these things, they look at, oh God, this is a big problem. And then they run away and try to do the little things which are cosmetic, which is why we haven't solved Galamsey up to today. Look, I don't think we will solve Galamsey.
You're repeating this?
Yes, I've said it over and over. Why? Because I don't see...
When you say you don't think we can solve Galamsey, we will solve it, you are saying that we are doomed.
I'm saying, given the present kinds of actions we are taking, and when I talk about action, the action of the president, his cabinet, and the leaders in this country, it is not for you and me to solve. So, if you can see, if they accept the kind of challenge that we have, and you see them making the necessary move.
You had Kanalboa leading the Naimos, and giving them all the warnings, so serious about it, and telling them they are coming for them, and they have actually arrested some of them, and they'll continue to say the kingpins, they'll smoke them out.
The kingpins are sitting in Accra in air-conditioned offices. They are not on the chamfans and things in the bush. All right? The kingpins are doing LCs and importing. Ghana is the highest importer of excavators in West Africa. Importing millions of dollars worth of excavators into this country.
We have so much at our ports that there was no space.
And they had to clear them. And trust me, they've cleared them to the national security, whatever. After a while, they will not be there. When you see the kind of way we are fighting it, you will come to my conclusion that we won't solve it. Listen, I've made a number of proposals, and I'm giving you one example. Why wouldn't they do it? Excavators are weapons of mass destruction in Ghana. That has been true for the last 20 years. So, just like we color taxis yellow.
Contractors need them.
Contractors
are civil engineers.
Contractors use only a small subset of excavators in Ghana today. So, excavators, as a matter of fact, are weapons of mass environmental destruction.
That's what we should declare them to be.
Yes. And I'm telling you, we have laws that say taxis should be sprayed yellow on the fender. So we identify them. I have made a proposal. If our president and his cabinet and his ministers are serious, every excavator should be colored bright red. And numbers should be printed on them so you can see them from a helicopter.
They've started now giving them numbers as the DVA.
They used to have electronic trackers on them, which means they knew where the excavators were and they knew they were doing Galamsey, but it still went on. So I'm saying the kind of things.
So the electronic trackers that the president and the minister are talking about.
Yeah. They are not working. They are not working. Which is why I'm saying, let me see you do paint them bright red. Okay, everybody sees it. It is okay. This is and put all excavators under the control of national security. What does it mean? Wherever you see an excavator, it is national security that has allowed it to be there. All right. Okay. And if it is not in the right places, so something. My point is, if you see, look at the action, not the talk. I've said it over and over today. Look at the action, not the talk. Okay. And please, let's avert our minds to the fact that since our people have made peace with Galamsey, if we don't take care, they will start fighting the states. Then we will know we have a problem.
I'm taking a quick break, and the last break. When I return, Dennis of Sini will hear what they have to say, and then the last, concluding comments from our two experts. We'll be right back. This Newsfile is your most authoritative news analysis platform.